I'm Brittany Lewis with Forbes Breaking News. Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell blasted the Biden administration over spikes in violent crime on the Senate floor Wednesday. McConnell accused the current administration and Senate Democrats for coming up with, quote, new ways to go soft on crime. Focusing on rising crime is a key GOP strategy as midterms near. Here's more from McConnell.
America's concern about violent crime is the highest it's been in 6 years. And the statistics plainly show why that is. Between 2019 and 2020, the murder rate shot up by the largest one-year increase in over a century. And the rate has kept on rising. Nearly 60% more law enforcement officers were killed in 2021 compared to 2020. Cities all across America set all-time record highs for homicides last year. My hometown, Louisville, Kentucky, was one of those cities. We also now average more than one carjacking every 48 hours. Innocent citizens across America know this situation has literally spiraled out of control. But unfortunately, the Biden administration and Senate Democrats continue to team up and find new ways to go soft on crime. The nomination and confirmation of Judge Jackson to the Supreme Court crowns a deliberate effort by Democrats to make the federal judiciary literally softer on crime. They are specifically, intentionally, stuffing the federal bench full of men and women whose starting perspective tilts towards sympathy for criminals rather than victims. Even the New York Times had to admit this concerted push by the Biden administration to prefer nominees with experience in criminal defense work is, quote, a sea change in the world of judicial nominations. The Times continued. The type of high-profile murder cases handled by some of Mr. Biden's nominees would have been considered disqualifying only a few years ago. Now the president, who himself served briefly as a public defender early in his legal career, is actively seeking to name more jurists who have that kind of experience. So, Mr. President, we're not arguing that public defenders ought to be excluded from the nomination process. Clearly, their work is important. Everyone deserves a lawyer, even the most heinous criminals. But the American people are not exactly clamoring for President Biden to dramatically tilt the entire judiciary toward the criminal-friendly perspective, least of all during this historic crime surge. This week, with a long list of serious problems facing the country, the Democratic majority has decided to spend floor time on another judicial nominee with this one particular background. A second nominee who appeared during her committee hearing to be unfamiliar with basic concept in trial law, and a third nominee whose pro bono record includes helping sue the New York City government over policing and trying to reverse another person's robbery conviction. So I would urge senators to oppose these controversial nominees. I'm proud to be one of many Republicans joining a new resolution from Senator Cassidy begging this all-Democratic government to prioritize solutions for the violent crime rate. To start, the administration should stop this willful campaign to make the judiciary systemically softer on crime. Innocent Americans can't afford it. Now, on an entirely different matter, the Ukraine people and their fight to repel Russian invaders from their sovereign territory has been inspiring. The world has watched Ukraine respond to gut-wrenching violence with bravery and with unity. I encourage President Biden to do more to strengthen Ukraine and NATO's defenses well in advance so as to deter Putin and improve Ukraine's initial ability to resist aggression. Many Republicans shared my view that President Biden should have done more to help Ukraine more quickly. Fortunately, as the Ukrainians have stood strong, President Biden has done more and more to help them in the fight. We're now investing to ensure Ukraine's forces are equipped to win, and the arsenals of NATO allies who have joined in support can be replenished. As I explained yesterday, American support for Ukraine is not mere altruism. The outcome of Ukraine's fight to preserve its sovereignty will have massive consequences for our own strategic interests, both in Europe and much farther afield. So let's start with just that continent. Europe is home to some of America's longest-standing friendships and deepest trading partnerships. If Vladimir Putin's thuggish imperialism found success in Ukraine, America and our allies would certainly feel the effects. Prior to the current conflict in Ukraine, Putin's creeping expansionism, his interventions, and manipulations of so-called frozen conflicts from Georgia and Crimea and Transnistria only emboldened him. He must be stopped. Beyond Europe's borders, Putin's fellow strongmen are watching all this to find out whether it's safe to follow his lead. In Beijing, President Xi's Communist Party is looking for a green light to apply the Russian model to their own wish list of sovereign territories to subjugate, starting, of course, with Taiwan. For their part, the Taiwanese people know they're in the crosshairs. As they demonstrated in solidarity with the people of Ukraine, the warning on the island in recent months has been, quote, "Today Ukraine, tomorrow Taiwan." As Taiwan's foreign minister put it recently in the Washington Post, the war in Ukraine has made it clear to the world how important it is for democracies to stand shoulder to shoulder against authoritarian aggression. Fortunately, fellow democracies in the Indo-Pacific are doing exactly that. Early this month, Japan's defense minister acknowledged that China has been, quote, "carefully observing" both Russia's aggression and the reactions of the international community. Prime Minister Kishida reaffirmed that we must, quote, "never tolerate a unilateral attempt to change the status quo by the use of force in the Indo-Pacific." From Kyiv to Taipei to Tokyo, America's friends and partners see Russia's behavior for exactly what it is, a dangerous spark to be stamped out. Ukraine is succeeding in large part because it took security seriously, especially since the 2014 invasion. Ukraine reformed its military training, doctrine, and operations. They abandoned the outdated Soviet model for a more dynamic Western approach. With help from the West, Ukraine invested in its capabilities. Other allies and partners should heed these lessons sooner rather than later. They should invest in their own defenses, seek interoperability with like-minded partners, and seize opportunities to train with top-tier militaries like our own. We must continue to help them do exactly that.